Go.
Hello.
Hello, hi.
I
I love this podcast. Is like, like sometimes it'll start. There's a link table podcast for whatever date and introductions and stuff, and sometimes it's like, hey, and then like dead silence for 5 to 10 seconds.
Well, you keep it interesting.
Who wants to hear the same thing every week?
Yeah.
What did Tim? Did you listen last week or no?
Yeah, I listened to. Yeah, I listened to it. That's right. It
What
was
do you
a little
think?
shorter.
Well, yeah. What do you think about?
Shit.
What do you think about the segment? What I'm thinking about.
It was an interesting exercise. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Is there anything you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking about something. It probably dovetails into what I was doing this week in the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure there's a big discussion going on, or I know there's a big discussion going on right now about the same aspect, which is difficulty of video games. How difficult
accessibility versus
yeah,
right.
It's a very complex issue, of course. Word accessibility can mean a lot of different things, and from my experience and just in what I do, accessibility would more lean me towards thinking about people who are disabled and providing, different changes for people who would need modifications to things. But I guess that's not everyone's definition of it, and some people would use it for just broader things, just to cover. I don't know, actually. It's hard for me to imagine that word meaning anything other than accommodating people who have different disabilities. But
I don't think that that's what the conversation's about, though. Like,
no,
I don't think
really,
anybody's arguing against, like that cool Xbox thing, right? The accessibility set, whatever that thing is called. Do you know the thing I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
There's like an accessibility box. I don't know if it actually came out or if it's just some prototype thing, but there's a box that plugs into your, presumably Xbox One, that has a bunch of different add-ons and triggers and buttons and stuff that you can plug into each of the ports, and each one corresponds with a different button on the controller.
Oh yeah.
And so based on what your disability is, you can buy like the triggers or the buttons that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, really cool. And I don't like that's great accessibility. And I think that should be available to everybody. But I think the conversation this week, and admittedly, it's going to lead into what I also want to talk about.
Yes.
Certainly it's because Sekiro's been out and people have been playing it. So I think it's accessibility, not so much in terms of accommodations for people. I think it's accessibility in terms of, we want to make a hard ass game. And we don't want to. Okay, here, let me use Nintendo as an example, right? That they've been going in a direction where New Super Mario Brothers U had like and I think most of modern 2D platformers have this, like, you died a whole bunch of times, hop into this bubble and we'll take you halfway through the level, right?
That's right.
Like, I think that's going in the opposite direction. So to go to the polar side of that, maybe is something like From Software games, Sekiro, where this is super hard, and if you're not good at it, too bad.
Baba Is You.
Yeah.
That's another one.
But I think that's, for me, I don't know. I'm sure it's not a big surprise. I think that's totally fine. If you're not good at the game, then you don't get to see it. And that's okay. If every game was like that, I think it'd be frustrating. But the best argument that I read for it this week was, not every movie is for everybody. Not every book is for everybody. And not every video game is for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's okay not to like things.
Well, no, I agree. And I mean, there are some people, unfortunately, that are conflating. Like, they'll be arguing for, and I've been following some of these arguments, they'll be arguing for, why not just add an easy mode? And people will say what you've said. And then they'll be like, well, and then they do bring up the disability issue. So it has been kind of coming up. But I think also people are also conflating it, like saying, oh, well, if a developer does this, they're against disabled people playing their game. And then other people bring up a counterexample of, well, disabled people have beaten Sekiro already, right? Like, there are people that have, I mean, there are different disabilities too. But anyway, we shouldn't get into that whole side of it. I think it's just a straw man argument anyway.
Well, I think it's crazy, but I think there's a couple of different ways that you can go with it, though, right? Like, I think it's super interesting that, because when you start talking about accessibility, it's not at all what I expected you to say. Like, start talking about like actual disabilities or actual accessibility, right? That's not at all what I thought you were going to do. But it's interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would argue that if I don't want to speak for anyone who's disabled, but I would imagine that it would be kind of gratifying to be able to beat something difficult like Sekiro, just like everyone else, even though I maybe had a problem, like I can't walk. Let's say I'm a person who can't walk, but I can still do something that's really hard and challenging that everyone else can do, or perhaps that other people can't do, right? I could do something that you can't do. And this game enables me to show that I can do it. You know, I think that's also a valid kind of side of it. At the end of the day, right, it comes down to also what the developer intends, right? And, you know, if you want to argue games are art or not art, I mean, certainly if you want to argue games are art, you have to, I think, include the developer's intent of what they're expecting you to feel when you play a game, right? And sometimes that could be overcoming a challenge.
And frustration.
Right? Yeah. Plus, if there's an easy mode, like everyone wants to put an easy mode in some of these games, right? What happens when the developer's known for hard games and then someone leaks a video of someone playing their game and making it look like a cakewalk, but it was an easy mode that someone got access to early on, then they have to spend time explaining to, you know, the outrage on the internet how this game is easy.
That's pretty situational.
It is, but I can imagine it occurring right now.
But I think I can imagine like anybody being outraged over anything.
Well, of course.
I think a lot of people are making intellectual arguments for the sake of trying to sound smart. Like this kind of thing. It's I don't want to say it's hard for me not to paint a paintbrush on every single person I've met, etc., etc. But from the people I met who are differently abled or whatever you want to say, they've always never wanted to have special treatment. They want to be treated as a person. They want to be treated as an equal. They want it to be treated as somebody who you are going to be like a friend with, like anybody else. The minute you start showing pity towards them is something that they hate, because that's not what they're looking for in life. They want to be treated normal most of the time. And so whenever I hear things like this, it's not always like I always get the feeling that it's people not really asking those people what they actually want and just putting their opinion as far as what they feel that they should have. And I just don't see how that benefits them in any way. Like showing pity on somebody in this way, or saying like, oh, it's because you can't handle it, is like I don't really like that. But
so having somebody speak for like a whole group of people, right?
Yeah. And
that's not part of that community.
Sure. And that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, but I'm saying also too that like they should have equal opportunity to access is a different story than having something dumbed down and like having the challenge of them. Like if you are not physically able to do something because of an injury, because of the way that you were born or anything like that, you should still have an equal opportunity to play. Like that whole Microsoft controller thing is really, it's a really nice and great thing that Microsoft did.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, and you can't you can't mix that argument up with dumbing down the difficulty level of Sekiro. It's not.
Yeah.
That's not. You know,
people will try, Keenan,
and trying to mix those two arguments together.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, it's unfortunate people are trying to leverage that side when they're not necessarily in that community to try and make a case for adding an easier difficulty when they're not even, when it sounds like they're not actually in that group. It's pretty, I think the problem is there's a lot of entitled people on the internet and they want to win an argument. And that's how you win an argument.
haven't we talked about this in the past? Not with disabled people, but with like gay people or like trans people or something like that. I feel like we've had the same conversation, just with a different group.
The other day, it has to do with Catherine and things like that. Like there was.
Oh, it was Catherine. That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. The that red hair character, right?
So I just the part that I really don't like is mixing those two things together. Like to me, the whole part of should this game be easier so that more people can complete it, that's a completely different argument. Like if you want to have that argument, that's a different argument. In my opinion,
don't bring up some other stuff.
Yeah, don't bring up.
Well, what about? Do you remember seeing this? I've seen it a couple times. There was that. There was a young girl who had dressed up like 7 years old or something, dressed up like a geisha or something like that, and then somebody called the parents on like cultural appropriation. And then in the comments, they were like, I'm a Japanese person. This is cool because it's somebody like sharing in culture instead of like appropriating culture, right? I think that a lot of the time you will see people call out someone else for being racist, for cultural appropriation, for, I don't know, for anything, right? When if they're not part of that group, then maybe the group that you're trying to defend doesn't need defending.
You remember that Sony E3 presentation this last year when the it's like the flute master who was playing in front of the bunch of samurai game. Everybody was making fun of him, sort of thing. And he's like he is a master of that. And like people are like, well, why isn't a Japanese person doing it? Why do you have to go find a Caucasian dude to go out and do it, right? And the thing is to be honest, a lot of Japanese people are not interested in these arts, and they just die and fade away if nobody else was like out there trying to learn from them. And if it's another if it's another skin-colored person who's taken an interest in it and wants to honestly learn from it, more power to them. And they were going to become a master and understand the culture and understand the significance. At least that thing is going to get passed on, right? Like it's like this kind of argument, this kind of like appropriation and talking about other people's problems, it just shows like a whole lack of understanding of like the overall bigger picture about it. People are just so focused on winning their argument. It's just doesn't bring us anywhere. But anyways,
this is not how I expected to start the show.
But I don't know. Like, what do you guys like? Just talking about the hard part, because like Chris, you're playing Sekiro. Is there like? Do you think like having the game more accessible from being easier? Does that? I don't know. Does that cheapen the work in any way? I
think so. I think it totally detracts from it because I'm having a shitty time playing this game. It's hard. Like it's genuinely difficult. I mean, I can get more into it later if you're interested, but I mean, it's I guess that's kind of what the show's for, right?
We'll talk about that later.
But I think that, I've been jumping all over the place and like coming back to bosses later that I get completely smoked by. Like I'm spending a lot of time running around and trying to figure out what I can do and who I can beat and who I can't. Talking because Jackie is also playing it, not friend of the show Jackie, but Destiny Jackie. And I've been going back and forth with him because he's got a bunch of stuff he's got to say about it. And so I feel like I'm getting a lot more out of it because it's not just a cakewalk. Like to contrast to One Piece World Seeker, which is the game I played before Sekiro, I closed my eyes and I platinum the game. Like it's just putting in time until it's done, right?
Yeah.
Where this shit is hard. Like I question my ability to be able to pull off a platinum on this thing because it's really, really tough. So I feel personally that maybe it's I don't think that I would be getting as much out of it if I wasn't struggling so much with it. At the same time, I think about a game like Demon Souls or Bloodborne, which I had a hell of a time playing. And so I stopped playing because I wasn't enjoying it, which is okay because it's like many people, it's their favorite games, right? it wasn't for me, and I'm not sure why Sekiro is different. There's a few things, I guess.
Because you're a weeb at heart.
Well, no, and it's funny because before coming on the show, I'm like, is it just because of the Japan thing? But I don't think it is, because the death, the punishment for death is not as harsh as it is in the other games, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
The checkpoints are a lot closer together. And this is coming from a guy that does not really have a deep understanding of like older From Software games.
They're pretty far apart.
From what I remember of both, or from what I understand of both, the checkpoints here are they're reasonably close together. I can run away and let things kind of reset before I try to stealth my way in. Like if I screw everything up, I can most of the time run away, let things calm down, then come back and try it again without dying, which is nice, right?
That's cool. Yeah.
If you do die, the way that you level up in this game, the way that you learn skills, you get experience points, and then you can spend those points in a skill tree, in a number of skill trees. And so let's say that I have 3 points saved up, and 3 points is a lot. Let's say I have 3 points saved up, and then I die. You lose your experience. You lose half of your progress through that points experience. Right. So let's say that I have 3 points and I'm working towards 4. I'm half of the way there. I die, and then I lose 25% of the experience from 3 to 4. Right. Okay. So that works for me. Mm-hmm. You lose half of your gold, which sucks, but you can also buy.
What do you use gold for?
Gold you use to buy any number of things. You can buy story things. You can buy techniques sometimes. You can buy upgrade stuff. Actually, you know what? Most of your gold you use towards your prosthetic arts upgrades.
Okay.
So you have an arm that you equip different prosthetics onto. Speaking of the accessibility,
yeah, right.
And you can get different upgrades for your prosthetics, and you use materials and money for those. Okay. So it doesn't feel as punishing. Right? Like I feel like, so say that I have a bunch of experience and a ton of gold. I got to be real careful not to die before I spend this stuff.
Yeah.
And I can teleport all over the map pretty much whenever I want. There's an item that lets you teleport back to either kind of it's called Dilapidated Temple is like the main place, but then you can also go to the Last Communed idol. And you can do that anywhere as long as you're in a safe zone.
Okay.
And if you do die, what happens is you lose your gold, you lose some of your experience. But there's also a 30% chance, and this is another mechanic. I don't want to get into it right now, but there's a 30% chance that you get unseen aid and you lose nothing.
You told us about that. You talked about this last time. That element. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like if there's something that I'm going to do that's difficult, if I'm exploring a new place and I have no idea what's coming up, I'm going to hold back from there until I get enough skill points to level up something, and then I'm back to 0. Spend all my gold. From the shopkeepers, you can buy gold pouches, and if you buy them, let's say that a gold pouch, 100 sen pouch, costs 110, but I can sell it for 100.
Right.
So it's kind of like insurance for if you die, right?
Oh, okay.
And I think those are cool. So, you blow all your money, blow your experience, and then go try something really, really hard. And then like bang your head against the wall with no consequence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
And it doesn't take a long time to get back to the hard part. It sounds like.
In my experience from the bosses that I've fought so far, most of the time it's like, I don't need to fight anybody even to get there.
Wow. Yeah. You're even selling me harder on this because though I like those old games, those older From Software games, I didn't really like that element. It's just like, oh, this is the way it is. And it's interesting that they changed those elements.
Well, it's great because that was part of what turned me off of Bloodborne and Souls games, is that if I have to spend 15 minutes getting back to a boss just to get one shot again, that's not fun for me.
No, you want to have a chance right away. Yeah.
If I can die repeatedly over and over and over against a boss,
you'd be willing to do it.
Sure, I'll do that. Like I'll sit at the same boss for 2 hours trying to do anything to him, right?
Yep.
And so I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it. Cool.
Good.
I feel like I'm getting to a point in the game, though. I'm a little bit nervous. So I looked up just to see if there was any missable trophies. And there are some coming up.
I see.
From what I read, there comes a point where if you kill these 2 bosses, then all of this stuff become, not all of this, but there's a few things that become unavailable from that point forward.
Oh. Okay.
And I'm getting close to that point. So what that means is that the stuff that I can't do right now, or the things that I haven't done right now, I pretty much have to do it before I move forward.
Okay.
Where to this point, if there's something that I couldn't do, I'd go forward, level up a little bit, get a little stronger. I'll come back to it later. And then I'm a little overpowered for it, and then I'll be able to pull it off, right? Where right now, I'm at a point where, well, deal with it anyways. You got to beat this guy.
Right.
Which again is kind of exciting, right? Yeah. I feel like there was kind of like 3 phases to this game with my experience with this game. The first one was I'm dying all the time and I'm really frustrated because everything is hard as shit.
Yeah.
And then there's one point where it's actually really interesting. It's very kind of straight line hallway game for quite a bit. And then you hit one point and it opens up ridiculously.
Oh, okay.
Like there's so many different ways that you can go. And so I'm hopping all over the map, looking at this thing, checking out this. Like it's really, really fun. I have not played a game in a long time that has given such an exciting sense of exploration. Usually I'm not too big on, I'll look under this thing and look over here and I don't give a shit. Like, so use Breath of the Wild as an example.
Right.
Yeah, I'll explore, but it's just like more hills. I don't give a shit about this, right? Where I feel like this is really, really exciting and nerve-wracking, and like I get a lot of feelings playing this thing. So I've been really, really enjoying just looking around and seeing what's around the corner,
Yep. Oh man.
It's really, really fun. It's really good.
This bet has totally that's the main thing I regret is that this freaking game came out and I can't play it right now. I beat Devil May Cry. I beat it.
And that anyways. Oh, you're done now?
Yeah. So I one night, I think a week ago, what was it, Friday? I beat the last boss. It took me 4 hours on the difficulty I was on. Banging my head against the wall on that last boss. Actually, I spent 2.5 hours doing it, or an hour, or 3 hours, sorry. Then I took a break not a break from the game, break from the boss to go find a few. Devil May Cry games has a few hidden orbs that'll give you an extra life chunk or whatever. I was like, I'm close. I just need a little extra help. So I powered up a little bit more and then I beat it. And oh my God, yeah, it was really difficult. And I liked it a lot. It was very difficult boss fight, a lot to it. So that was a big milestone, just finishing it. And then there's 2 difficulties higher than that I have to still beat.
Jesus. Do you have to do them separately or can you just jump to the next highest?
You have to do them separately. So I went back at
so you have to beat it 2 more times?
Yeah, I beat it once already on the lowest difficulty, which was just fun to experiment. Because you're always the thing about that game is you're always getting new moves. And so just to kind of have the space breathing room on easier enemies was kind of fun to just go back through on that difficulty. Plus,
does it have New Game Plus?
Yeah, you have everything. You constantly have all that stuff. So because there's so many points, you can't unlock everything in one run at all, even multiple runs. But for the human run, I did all the extra stuff, find all the orbs, getting all the secret missions, trying to S rank everything because there's an achievement for S ranking. I'm like, oh yeah, it won't be hard to S rank. I had mostly S's. There's 2 or 3 missions in the game that are hard as shit to S rank, even on the lowest difficulty, because it's based on point value, style points. And style points are about getting those S's, the triple S's. So in this game, the more moves you spam in a row, your style ranking stops going up and you have to mix it up in fights and chain everything. Or not chain, it's not a combo, but you have to it runs out slowly if you're not fighting. And so problem is on human difficulty, a lot of the mook enemies die too easily. So in order to get high ranks, you have to learn how to abuse the guard system, the Royal Guard, which is the parry system. And that's hard to do no matter what. So some of the missions are you literally, there's only a few ways to do it on certain difficulties. So there's one right now where I tried it on the lowest difficulty. I tried it on the regular difficulty. And the enemies are still too weak to get up to that level unless I'm willing to literally learn all their patterns and like perfect parry everything like that friggin' Street Fighter video. So I have to now. I'm playing it on the third highest difficulty to basically beat it, but also to try and get S ranks on those missions that I couldn't on the easier difficulty mode because the enemies are more spongy and you can like hit them longer. So like yeah, it's been unexpectedly difficult at certain parts. And one of the missions that I did had my heart like in my throat near the end of it because I was so close and I wasn't sure if I was going to S rank it. But it's been a while since the game's done that for me, and I wouldn't have had that experience if I wasn't doing this bet.
See, man, trophies are not all bad. I get a lot out of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Really if there was no bet, I don't know that I'd do it. That's the problem. But if
there wasn't a what do we call this stupid thing?
I don't think we've named it yet. So.
What was the one that came up in chat?
Betty's and Veronica's. Or
Veronica.
I don't get the Veronica part
because Betty's.
Yeah, I guess so.
Betty's and Veronica's.
But yeah, so it's been weird, right? This month, and then Baba's You, I'm still playing. I'm like 90 puzzles in, and the other day I was stuck on a puzzle for like 4 hours, like thinking about it, and I got the solution, and yeah, it's one of those things. It's like keeps on evolving. I'm blown away. I'm like halfway through the game apparently, and I'll hit it like. It'll be like every 3 or 4 puzzles I'll hit something and be like, that's friggin' impossible. There's no way. And then I'll play around, experiment, and then I'll learn something that was hidden in the game the whole time that I didn't know about.
It's really fun.
It's unbelievable. Like I could totally see how people would give up, and maybe I'm not at a point where I've hit that puzzle that I'm stuck on for days. It is frustrating, but it's immensely rewarding again. And it's weird that all these games have come out around the same time that are really difficult like this. It's cool. I don't know if I want to play. It's interesting. Like once I'm done DMC, will I want to play Sekiro right away? I think I will because I know it's going to be good. But
it's a different kind of hard too, though, right?
Yeah, that's true. It is a different kind of hard.
You can get Sekiro for nothing off your bet. Get Jackie to buy it for you.
Well, no, we'll be even Stevens unless we're going to buy each other stuff. I don't know if we're going to even up or if we're going to just. It might be easier to just break even on it.
What do you mean? Oh, because you both have to do something.
Yeah, we both. Yeah. So
what does she have to do?
Oh no, she already did it. Remember?
Was that the Resident Evil thing?
Resident Evil thing.
Yeah. That's about it. You should. You guys should. The whole point is to get the game, right?
Yeah, buy each other the game.
I guess so. Then I have to wait. I'd rather just go buy it.
And then get a different game.
Yeah.
Cool. That's fun. It sounds like we're both enjoying video games this week.
Yeah, in the same sort of way, and then the hard thing. I did play something else, which is complete opposite end of the spectrum, maybe to balance it out. I reinstalled Path of Exile again, which is the Diablo 2 style action RPG game. That's really
I saw that on Steam. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's completely different, right? It's completely like here. This game's really complex from a build standpoint, but you just run around and shred enemies and watch loot fall on the ground. And it doesn't, well, the level I'm playing doesn't require a lot of challenge. But it was nice to just run around and watch interesting loot pop up and look at build guides and try to understand how the hell even this build would work, because the game is so much more complicated than any, like Diablo 2, Diablo 3. Like, it is really, really deep. So people out there who are interested in that type of a game, who like that kind of stuff, who want to like figure out the game's mechanics and learn how to make some overpowered, ridiculous nonsense where you just walk up and fill the screen with projectiles and nuke everything. That's for sure the game for you. But and it's relaxing to play a game like that for sure. So I had a bit of that, and then I knew I had to play more Devil May Cry. Like I was taking a break, and I was just like, I'm enjoying just relaxing at night and playing this game. And then I'm like, no, I have to do it. I have to go back. And if I keep putting this off, I'll never get this done. Now I have a much better idea of how long it's going to take me to beat Devil May Cry and do all the things.
Would you say you're still enjoying it though?
Which?
Playing Devil May Cry.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, now that I beat it, I'm excited to go back. And the free DLC came out today. It's called Bloody Palace, and I guess there was something called Bloody Palace in DMC4 as well, where it's just like a boss rush, like arena mode, where you go like through 100 levels of like different things. Final Fantasy 12 had something like that too. It's just like constant waves, and there's some stuff you unlock if you beat it and stuff like that. So that's cool. They added that. You get to fight some bosses with characters who never would see them in the actual game, which is kind of neat. So I might go through. I might actually do it. I might actually mess with it.
Can I say before Keenan jumps in with all his stories, I also dropped some money on The Missing, JJ McField and the Island of Memories for Switch.
Oh yeah,
isn't that
it's the Sweary one?
Yeah.
I like it. It's clever. It's off-putting. I had read before. Do you know the mechanic in this thing?
Mm-mm.
You walk, so you're this girl JJ McField. That's her name. It's kind of like a side scroll. What's Inside or Limbo, like this kind of thing, but with more of a puzzle element to it.
Not shadowy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you know what? It's beautiful. It's strange because there's like super high production values in so many places. Like the theme song when the game opens is like vocalized and it's gorgeous. The backgrounds are ridiculous. The backgrounds are so good. Animation's decent. Voice acting's really good. It's a little janky, but not off-putting. However, the mechanic to this game is that JJ can die and then
lose parts of
her body, light on fire, and then rejuvenate herself, renew herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the whole game is based on you like getting fucking wrecked, solving a problem with like your body in pieces, and then like pulling yourself back together. And so it's
screaming every time she
yeah. So it's I find it very difficult to like watch her die repeatedly. It's really unsettling. I don't know. I'm a little frustrated because I feel like it could have been, you know, if it was cartoony, this would be great.
Right.
It sounds awful, but I hesitate to say this, but if it was a dude, it might be great. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it changes my feeling just because it's a girl, and because she's a girl. She's what, like 20? So
that's a woman.
No, but it's also a young woman still, though. Like anytime if you think about movies and stuff, like the people getting murdered and raped are like 20-year-olds, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And so there's still that like I don't know. So it sucks because I like the game. It's clever in some of the puzzles. You know, sometimes when you figure something out and you're like, you know, like I like that feeling.
Yeah.
But I don't like watching her arms like get torn off or, you know, her body lighting on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Is the narrative like enough?
No, it's terrible. But
I heard the narrative is actually very special in it, so that's why.
Do you know what's special about it that I didn't realize? I don't know another game where the two main characters are like very obviously gay.
Yes.
Right? Like JJ and I forget the other girl's name, Anita or something, Emily. At the beginning, they're sitting at a campfire and they're like holding hands and snuggling and stuff and talking about the future. I'm like, holy shit, like this is pretty cool. Right? Like usually what was a game recently where people were like, just come out and say it. Like don't beat around this thing. Just do it. Right? Where every game and every movie, right? Where I was very impressed at their handling of it. Like they never actually say like they never come out and say it directly, but it's heavily implied. Like if you don't think they're gay, then you're a moron. And so that part I thought was really cool, but they also didn't make a big deal out of it or make it like, what was that stupid PS1 game that they like, look, they're gay and they're sexy gay.
God hand?
Fear Effect? Is that what it's called?
Fear Effect, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that at all. Like it's I dig it for a lot of reasons, but the death thing turns me off. and it makes it tough. The other thing that's really bugging me is that there's these things you have to collect. I forget what it is, birds or something. Like, I don't even remember. It's just some shit you got to collect, and I don't even know what it's for. It's just, you know, try to get these things, and it's kind of like extra challenges within the puzzles.
Right.
Like, solve this puzzle, but also figure out how to get this, you know? And I feel like I missed a couple, and that's pissing me off, and I don't think there's any way to really go back. And so that's turning me off a little bit. I like it, and I will return to it. That's all I have to say about it.
I want to actually, if you can, push to finish it. I'm interested to hear your thoughts about it, just because I've heard.
Do you know the ending?
Good things. No, I just heard a lot of good things about the narrative, speaking to a lot of people who are gay and trans and stuff, and it captures their feelings about them not being comfortable with themselves and stuff like that. Like they're so. I
will continue for sure.
For them, but yeah,
I will certainly continue, and I do honestly want to continue. It's just it's
hard.
It's hard to, yeah.
I when I was watching the previews of it too, and I know it's shitty for me to make you go through it, and when I don't want to go through it.
But what's that? You know that face? You always see the animated GIF of like that girl. She's probably from a reality show or something. Do that like that grimace and show her teeth like that.
Yeah.
You know which picture I'm talking about. The girl's got like her lips curled back and like her teeth are showing. Like she's like, what am I looking at here? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm making that face a lot when I play this game.
Well, it's hard. You don't want to hear anybody suffering, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've heard things that it's good, but
cool. And I mean, sweary, right? Like I think that talk about accessible games. Like there's a third branch. Okay, there's accessibility in terms of like, you know, physical accessibility. There's accessibility in terms of difficulty, and then there's accessibility in terms of like sweary games and like Suda 51, right? Where just like, I don't play this shit. Like it's there's a barrier holding me back from playing this, and I want to like it, but goddamn, like it's the same thing as No More Heroes got that same vibe, especially the Travis Strikes Back or Travis Strikes Again.
So like, narratively challenged, like
well, challenging, but also exciting, and like super grindy and boring, but also unique, right? Like it's yes, but right. Like I feel like there's another breed of games like that, and I feel like The Missing kind of fits into that nicely. You know, along with what Killer 7 and you know Dark Dreams. What is it called? D4. Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Yeah.
Did you play Dark Dreams Don't Die?
On my list,
either of you?
Things that I'm supposed to buy. Yeah.
Sorry, Tim. You said you did play it?
No.
I have it on Steam. I just haven't played it yet.
I want to buy it and play it. Like maybe the next time it goes on sale, all three of us, like the other two of us, should buy it and play.
Why don't we do? Sure, we do Game Club.
Yeah. I mean, it's short enough and everything. We should be able to get through it.
Okay, I'd be down.
Yeah.
Can you play anything? So far, this is like the Chris and Tim show.
That's fine, because my week is you know how we were talking about challenges, you know, like all that stuff. I think if I had played more Dark Souls and Demon Souls stuff, I think I'd get through this week a bit easier. It's just like work was pretty rough, and just like learning new things and trying to get through them with a time limit was all quite a bit of unnerving stuff. But it's all computers and thinking. It's like having a massive puzzle for you to figure out within like a time limit, and your career and money is all worth. It's all tied into it. So yeah, that's what my life was.
that was your game this week.
That was my game this week. But I don't know. I think, see, this is the thing. Like if there was an easy mode for every game, like this is, I kind of want to bring it back to it. Like if that was how life had had thrown things at me where every game or every challenge or everything had a participation award or given me like an easy mode to escape out of like trying to get better so I can overcome a challenge, I don't think I would be able to do the stuff that I was doing this week. Like I think a lot of that stuff prepared me for life. Like just getting, maybe I'm like I am dramatizing it a bit, but at least it's making my mind a little bit stronger in order to say, you know what, like I know other people can get through this. I know I can at least probably get through this. So I should try. You know, I should keep on trying and figure it out. You know.
I think there is something. I think there is something to say about, and this is like I really hesitate to say this on recorded audio, but I think there is something to what you're saying, right? Like I remember, so 2 examples. I remember being a kid and going through the whole Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 4 thing with Cecil becoming a paladin and shedding his dark past, and you know what it means to be good and what it means to be a hero, this kind of stuff. I feel like I picked up all that stuff from video games as a kid, and I feel like and this is where I feel like, I don't know if I want to say this, I feel like maybe my morality is a little stronger because of video games. Does that sound stupid?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a cultural influence, right?
Yeah. I had
that's what stories and narrative things are supposed to do. They're supposed to give you inspiration in those things. That's why things like the Bible end up being things that people live their life around. You know?
I like, did you just equate Final Fantasy 2 with the Bible?
I think he put one above the other. I think he's implying that Final Fantasy 2 is better than the Bible.
It's kind of like the Bible, but Final Fantasy 2 obviously does morality.
Paladins and all sorts of cool stuff in it.
The other one too. I remember last year sometime Jane was doing something difficult. I can't remember what it was, and I remember she said to me, and I was like, "What just came out of this kid's mouth?" And I actually thought about the Final Fantasy thing because I've come back to that a couple of times. I feel like that left a lasting effect on me. The Mount Ordeals thing, but she was, I can't remember what it was, but she was trying to do something. She was getting frustrated, and then she turned and looked at me. She said, "You know what? Luffy's really, really struggling, but he never gives up. And so I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to give up." I was like, what the hell? But it's cool. Like, and I think that you're right. I think that it doesn't matter whether it comes from books or from movies or from video games. It's a cultural thing, you know, from your parents or from your friends, or like you're getting something from everything that you experience. Right.
Oh yeah.
And going back to Final Fantasy 2, like, I know we got the easier version, but there's also a part in that game which, like, I'll always remember, because there's a part in the game where you have to go down to the like the summoned monsters where they live, basically.
Yeah, man, it's hard.
And you have to fight the king and queen there,
and you get destroyed.
You get destroyed, and if you're an idiot like me, you don't realize that you could cast Reflect or Wall on them, so that whenever they cure themselves, it ends up curing you. So what I ended up doing was I kept on smacking my head against the wall there, and then I like went into the monsters, kept leveling up until I was strong enough to beat them, even though they were casting heal on each other and stuff like that. And the thing that I learned from that was not the lesson to actually.
I was gonna say, is that perseverance or is that being an idiot?
That's perseverance and also being an idiot, right?
Sometimes they can be both.
Well, yeah, because later on somebody's like, "Yo, you should have cast Wall," and it's like, "Gosh," it's like,
Wall.
Wall. Like, I should have been smarter about it. You know, there's working smart, and then there's working hard, right? And sometimes you like. You have to work smart rather than working hard, and that's one of those things that like I took out of that. Like, I'm still learning how to do that, obviously, but it's something that was instilled in me because of that. Like, every time I think about like whether I'm doing something the proper way or whether I'm doing it the way that's most efficiently, I always think back to that moment. You know,
that's interesting. That's cool.
Lessons from video games.
Tell me how video games have improved your life.
Me?
Trauma Center. Tell us how Trauma Center made you a better dog.
No, Beatmania is probably a big one, because for that I was like, yeah, for perseverance, like that really taught me that, oh, I actually can do something that I thought was impossible multiple times. And just by trying, just by pushing, right? Like I'd see you do stuff back in the day and I'd be like, he's crazy. I don't know. I'll never be able to do that. Like I would be like, I just can't fathom it. And then, yeah, it just was like, oh, this can be possible. Like it's just opening horizons, right? Sure. Realizing that there's so much more accessible to you than you realized.
Yeah.
Is kind of what that did, which is really cool. I mean, there's going to be things that are basically, even no matter how long I do them, I'm probably not going to be as good as other person, but that's not really what I'm after. It's about whether I can
better than your earlier self, right?
And at different ages too, right? Like you sort of go, hey, at this age, could I do this? I'm wondering, and now I don't question it as much, right?
I've definitely gotten worse at Beatmania over time, and I don't think it's because I'm rusty. Also because I'm rusty, but I think it's more just because I'm older.
That's what I don't think that's the case personally.
You don't think it's because I'm older, just rusty?
No. Yeah, I think it's rusty.
Yeah.
Personally,
the game's not teaching you that you're deteriorating your body.
I think it'd be different if you and I are both used to playing it on 12s or 11s. I think then I would maybe argue that, yeah, potentially being older is gonna, but I think there's still there's some left that's more based on experience and practice rather than reflexes. But anyway, that's another topic. I mean, that's all hard to say, right? Yeah.
Well,
but other than that, I don't know. I mean, yeah, unless you do.
Yeah.
Probably.
Me, it was.
What?
What was that?
I love you guys were both like.
Sorry. Go ahead, Keenan.
Other than that, it's Beat Saber.
Oh yeah,
the new songs.
Yeah, still playing that.
How are the new ones?
They're a challenge. Like they're a real challenge. Like some of them are just. There's some endurance runs in them that are a lot longer than the other ones, and
are they fun?
Yeah, I like a lot of the songs are catching on to me, but I don't know. I think that the original pack is stronger, maybe. So I don't know. I'm sure that they're gonna come up with some mega pack once they release another pack of songs or something like that, much cheaper or something. So.
And then charge more money than if you had bought it separate, like they did last time.
Sure.
That burns me. Well, like I said, I was all ready to buy it, and then when I saw pricing, I was like, "That's bullshit." Like, it's cheaper if you bought the entire thing now than if you bought it at the start plus the DLC. Get out of here.
Yeah,
that's not right.
Yeah. But then Tim would be also pissed off about how we got in on Destiny 2 at such a cheap price when he got it for like full price, basically.
No, but he also had the time to. Well, yeah, I guess it's the same argument. Yeah.
It happens, man. Okay. There's no rush.
Yeah. Are we good this week then?
Yeah, man. I gotta get back into the Devil May Cry right now. I gotta get this done, man. I'm still a little worried, but
you got 30 days. All right. Well,
you got that time.
It's not about it's ability.
Well, like with Beatmania, you figure it out. You can stick it in. You can get her done.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys in a week.
Okay.
Bye.